Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Social Dinner Club podcast. This is the second official episode for the Social Dinner Club, and as always, you are more than welcome to subscribe and become a part of this extraordinary endeavor. This is your host, Jonathan Abner, better known as J-Ab, and the Social Dinner Club is where we discuss hot topics over delicious meals, but most importantly, we want to generate positivity into everyday living. Today's meal is lima beans. They're in a crock pot right now with a ham bone and have been cooking for the past 4.5 hours. I cannot wait. On today's podcast, I want to give you some insight into who I am and who I inspired to be through the Social Dinner Club podcast. As you may or may not know, my name is Jonathan Abner, but a lot of people know me as J-Ab, and I am the creator of the Social Dinner Club podcast. For the past year or so, I have been on this real unique positive vibe through which I have begun to discover that the world needs positivity. I started this positive journey or vibe, if you will, by first changing my mindset. It was in that I began to think differently, speak differently, and act differently. But what I wasn't prepared for was for others to start acting differently towards me. Also, while on this journey, I have found the statement to be true, and that is that misery loves company. However, through this podcast, I hope to inspire people to also believe that even more so, that happiness loves company as well. When you're happy, don't you want to share it with other people? Of course you do, because deep down inside, you want people to either be happy for you or happy along with you. And that is why I want to open up opportunities for people to spread the happiness, share the joy, and feel the encouragement and inspiration from others who have good things to share. I currently work as a supervisor for a nationally recognized blood bank, and although I love the aspect or idea of helping to save lives through the processing of donated blood from our local community, I realize that I have a greater calling, a greater purpose. And that is to help save lives through consistent positivity, inspiration, encouragement, and genuine love that people can feel just by listening to this podcast. Ever since I can remember, I've always wanted to be on the radio. I can remember times as a little boy recording onto my desktop, using sound recorder and some cheap little microphone. I would intro songs and tell my imaginary listeners who the artist was and the song title. I would keep everyone abreast to the time and the date. And at times I even did the weather. It was my imaginary radio show in my imaginary world. And it was a hit, #1 in the nation, and no one could top it. Years later, I realized that I had a gift that required me to use my voice. And so I started putting it to work and practicing. I can remember one of the very first times that I had to publicly speak. It was at the Florida Classic Battle of the Bands, 2002. I was put on the spot to be the announcer for my old high school marching band in front of what must have been about 15,000 or so people. So I talked during the show, introducing songs, and did my best to build up the excitement about the band and the show that they were about to see. Now, I must say that for my first time, I think I did pretty well. But the next year, oh my gosh, let me tell you, I came prepared, and no one was ready for what they was about to hear from me. So let me take you to the off season. During the off season, I studied all different types of band announcers, and I settled on one in particular. And that was from Bethune-Cookman University. Now, let me stop right now. Shameless plug. Bethune-Cookman University Marching Wildcats are my favorite all-time marching band. Okay, I'm going to put that out there right now. But during the off season, I studied all different types of band announcers, and I settled on the voice from Bethune-Cookman, Mr. Glenn Walker, better known as Horatio. I wanted to sound like this man. I wanted to be like him. I used a lot of his punchlines. I started hearing less of the band and more of him. And he has a lot to do with why I began my career, if you will, in serving as the voice for one of Palm Beach County's most recognized bands in Suncoast High School. So let me rewind just for a little bit. It was the Florida Classic Battle of the Bands. The year 2003, Suncoast High School was taking the field and I was taking the microphone. All of the other announcers that night had scrap paper they were reading from and notebooks and such. I took to the announcer's table with me a 22-inch Toshiba laptop. Listen, I really don't remember the brand name or the specific inches. It just sounded really good to say. But I showed up with the laptop and I was ready to start my intro. And it went a little something like this. Good evening, Florida Classic fans, and welcome to the Amway Center, or the Amway Arena, whatever it was at the time. The band you are about to see hails from one of the world's most beautiful waterfront cities in Riviera Beach, Florida. This band has been rated superior for over 20 straight years at FBA. This band clearly defines the meaning of the word superior, proving you are superior whenever proof seems necessary. So therefore, we come to prove to you why we are the best there is, the best there was, and the very best there ever will be. Under the direction of the director of bands, Mr. Ernest Brown, and his assistant band directors, this is the voice of this remarkable band, Jonathan Abner, introducing to some and presenting to many others the marching chargers of Suncoast High School. Now listen, the crowd went crazy, especially those who lived in Palm Beach County. But what I forgot to mention or to tell you is that I was sitting right next to Mr. Glenn Walker, better known as Horatio himself. Yes, listen, the voice of Bethune-Cookman, the guy that I studied the absolute most, the guy I wanted to be and sound like, I was sitting right next to him. I mean, listen, I love this dude. I admired him. I studied him. I was totally fan-struck to be sitting right next to him. Did he know that I felt that way? No, absolutely not. Because I walked up there with a mission, and that this was to show everyone in attendance that this was no longer the year 2002 Florida Classic Battle of the Bands. I came prepared, and I was more prepared this time than ever before. So fast forward. So it was like the middle of the show. I was doing my thing using all of Horatio's punchlines like drum majors, flip the switch, and let's do this. I mean, I was pulling it all out in front of him. I was like, listen, I was showing out. OK. And there was a time that I looked over my shoulder and I could see him conversing with his family behind him. And he's literally telling his family, look at this young guy. Look at him. Like he was enjoying hearing me. And so as I finished up the show and I gave him back the microphone, he asked me for my name and he told me that I had did a great job. As the band was walking off the field and I was trailing behind them, this is what I heard. Boy, I'm glad I don't have to deal with that one. Ladies and gentlemen, that young man, Jonathan Abner, will be the next voice you hear at the Florida Classic. Wow. As I'm walking across the field and the crowd is cheering off of what Horatio just said about me, it was a undescribable feeling. Now, that has yet to come to pass. That has yet to become true. But I can tell you that it's going to happen. It's going to happen. What in your life have people spoke over you that has yet to come to pass? What in your life have you spoke over your life that has yet to come to pass? Do you believe that it can happen? Do you have an expectation that it will happen? I do, and I know it will. And allow me to take the time to encourage you right now to believe what you speak. Say it to yourself daily and expect that it will happen. I mean, I didn't always have the equipment to start a podcast or radio station. I never stopped believing as a child or a teenager. And now, even as a grown adult, I never stopped believing that one day I would start my own podcast or be on the radio. It took me some time to do what I love to do, but I'm doing it. And there are a whole lot of things that I've spoke over my life that I'm still believing is going to happen, but it doesn't stop at believing it. You have to expect it, and I'm expecting it. Ladies and gentlemen, stand by for just a moment. I'm going to go check on these lima beans, and we're going to get into more about me right after this. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Social Dinner Club. Let me tell you, the lima beans are done and they taste exceptionally well. I can't wait to dig into more. The music that you're hearing right now is being brought to you by none other than a personal friend of mine, my brother, that goes by the name of Drummond Skills. Brother, I love you so much, man. Thanks a lot. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's that time. Let's get into more about me right here on the Social Dinner Club podcast. I love my family, even those I don't talk to all of the time, even those that don't talk to me all of the time. But more than anyone would ever know, I would do anything for my family. I am and was the last of 4 children. I have 2 blood brothers and 1 blood sister. I have to add blood to it because over time you'll begin to see that I have a lot of brothers and sisters. I have friends that are way too close to call friends, so I consider them to be my brothers and my sisters. Now, my dad, he's my dad. I love that dude. Our relationship wasn't always the greatest, but the older I got, I understood what my father was trying to teach me. I get it now. You know, my dad was never into the computer age. He still has a flip phone to this day. My dad would always tell me, get yourself a trade, son. And it wasn't until years later, after I refused in being a plumber like him, that I realized that everyone is going to need a plumber in their lifetime. Everyone is going to need an electrician, a carpenter, or a welder. However, I never wanted to be any of those things. And at the time he was trying to teach me the art of plumbing, I had my heart and mind fixated on being a musician, on playing the drums. And that I did. Every time I went out with my dad to learn plumbing, I would wind up hurting my hands, making it very hard for me to be able to play drums like I wanted to. And so a good musician friend of mine would always tell me, as a musician, you have to take care of your hands and your feet. And that's most of the reason why I never wanted to be a plumber. I kept getting hurt. I played the drums for a local church in West Palm Beach for a good while before I wound up being full-time in media productions. At the same time, I was also singing with and directing the choir, choreographing dances for the dance team. I had my hands full at the church. And that's a whole different podcast. But my mom, wow, I love that woman. She was very instrumental in my life. My mom was the reason why I started playing the drums. I would set up different books of different sizes. The dictionary was the biggest, so it would be like my bass drum. But I would also set up a hanger that was extended from the drawer of my dresser and somehow attach the cover to my mom's pots and pans that served as my cymbal. And I would play along to records that she would have me listen to. My mom told me that I would be the main drummer at the church that I played for. But at that time, there was a drummer already there. They didn't need me to be their main drummer. But my mom literally spoke that into existence. And it happened. There are a lot of stories I can share about my mom. But I will say this. She is the reason I am who I am. She is the reason I'm pushing as hard as I am to make things happen. because this podcast is something that she's seen a long time ago and spoke over my life. And Mom, I hope that I'm making you proud. But as we dig in more to about me, I want to tell you that in 2008, I started a photography and videography company, and it's going pretty well. My passion for it is not the same, though. I started this podcast off by telling you that I know I had a greater calling, a greater purpose, and this is it. I know it is. This is it. And one day you will see all that has been spoken over my life. One day you're going to witness how this podcast has touched the lives of so many people. I hope that you heard something today that inspired you or encouraged you. I hope that above all things that this podcast has served or will serve as one of the most positive things that you will hear throughout your day today. As always, the Social Dinner Club is where we discuss hot topics over delicious meals. But our main objective is to generate positivity into everyday living. Feel free to subscribe and be updated weekly from the Social Dinner Club podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much for tuning in. Until the next time, be, therefore, you are.